So welcome to the day two of the pop-up meetings, and today we have three sessions. Going to be 2 hour break in between. Um, so what's being suggested is this Mission Impossible cue soundtrack. Uh, what's being expressed is the impossibility of comprehending the impossible, the impossibility of everything happening all at once, the impossibility of the illusion to get out of the illusion, the impossibility of winning the ultimate lottery the moment that someone starts playing it, the impossibility of time, yet there is waiting for time for something impossible to happen, the impossibility of the impermanent to become permanent, the impossibility of choice, the impossibility of this perfect stillness appearing as movement, the impossibility of figuring out wholeness with the dualistic illusory mindset, the impossibility of doership, the impossibility of the real and the unreal happening simultaneously, the impossibility of everything. Everything is impossible. Yet here we are. Yet there is this thinking that there's a possibility for the impossible to seek the impossible while the impossible is seeking the impossible. Before someone says, well, what are we doing here then? Trying to figure out the impossible, trying to attain the impossible, yet the impossible is certain. It's the only thing that's happening is the impossible. I was talking to my friend, my friend that we went to a bar to this to he was just really curious of what's happening with this character, and he said he really wants to know. And when I said that there's no one here, the first thing that came out of his mouth was, well, that's impossible. It's impossible that there's no one here. What do you mean by that? It's impossible that there are no others. It's impossible that there's no time. And the impossible can only be discussed in the possibility, in possibilities, in contradictions, in the impossibility of the contradictions. The impossible appears as everything. The impossible is looking for the impossible. But yet there's this temporary possibilities that is dreamt about by the dream character. And it's so simple that everything is impossible. Possibly, this could be wrong or this could be right. Possibly, there could be time or no time. Possibly, this could be real and the unreal. But all of that is an impossible statement because it has to be one or the other. It can't be happening both at the same time. That's impossible. When someone says that what is being sought for cannot be found because it appears in everything, one will say, well, that's impossible. How can something appear as everything? Yet here it is. It's appearing as a subject and object. It's appearing as here and there. It's appearing as stories, It's appearing as concepts. It's appearing as every single thing. And that's quite impossible. So when the seeker, this is what usually happens, when the seeker sees the impossibility of attaining something, when the seeker gets completely tired of seeking for something that's impossible, sometimes it loses its track, sometimes it collapses, sometimes it disappears, sometimes it dies. But that's impossible because that's just the story again. But in the story, the possibility of getting the impossible is impossible. And it visits all possibilities to attain the impossible. As we mentioned earlier, it goes to mantras, it goes into practices, it goes into techniques, it goes into excessive seeking. It gets to the idea that, this is already impossible. But the impossible cannot be figured out. It's not something that is understood. It's impossible to understand this. It's even impossible to talk about this. Yet here it is. Yet here it is. And this apparent speaker is just trying to simplify it by saying what's obvious. It's impossible. There's no possibility of getting this. Because there's no possible way that there's someone. So let's repeat what's obvious again. All that there is this impossibility appearing as this impossibility appearing as sound, this impossibility appearing as movements, this impossibilities appearing as choices, this impossibility appearing as whatever is happening. So trying to figure out the impossible is a mission impossible. No amount of detective work, no amount of forensic studies, knowing, intelligence, genius can figure out the impossible. Because it's already impossible. There's nothing to figure out because it's already impossible. When the seeking sees this, that it's always impossible, it surrenders, kind of like, oh, well, it's impossible, so what can I do? Nothing, because I'm not even here. It's impossible to find freedom when it's already appearing as everything. It's impossible to contain liberation when liberation cannot be contained. It's impossible to find peace when peace is all around. It never leaves. It can't leave. It's impossible to put conditions in unconditional love because it will always, always be unconditional. So let's talk about the possibilities. If you have any questions or if you just want to chat about this impossibility, please go ahead and we'll discuss it.
Emerson?
Yes.
I just want to double check your schedule. Okay, so yeah, because it shows 2 hours in between the first session and the second session, but
Yes.
then after the second session, then it's just a 1 hour break.
Is it? Did I make a
Yeah.
mistake again? Oh no. it's It's impossible to schedule time when there's no time.
I love it. Okay.
Uh, uh, Let me check the schedule just a second, okay? I am really sorry, everyone. Every single one, every single time that I do this, I always make a mistake in scheduling. So yeah, 8 a.m. to 9:30 is right now, and there's a 2-hour break, and then we come back at 11:30 to 1. No, no, it's supposed to be 11:30 a.m. Sorry, to 12. Oh no, 1 p.m. Yes. Okay, you're right. Yeah, 2 hours and then 1 hour. Sorry about that. Thank you so much. Primali, go ahead, Primali.
Hi, Emerson. I just want to say
Hello.
it's you read my mind. Like I have given up. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So it
That
was nice to hear that.
yeah. And that's what, when this character was seeking heavily, it kept on hitting its head on the brick wall, kind of like, oh, this is, I will never get this. I will never get this. It just became too exhausting. It
Yeah.
became too exhausting, and there's no techniques or cause and effect to this one. But at one point, this was listening to this like hours and hours and hours, and even it's so stubborn, right? Even though it's kept on getting expressed that you will never get this. I'm like, well, how do I get this? How do I get to you will never get? It is just this trying to do the Mission Impossible, kind of like hanging off walls, going through lasers, kind of like that movie. it
Yeah.
it will never happen because the one that wants it to happen is not possibly here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I was sort of there was this like this thoughts. This incident happened, and then I was sort of feeling sad,
Yeah.
thinking why. And then I was thinking, okay, why am I sad if I understand this? Then it hit me. It doesn't really matter
No.
at all what I understand or not.
No,
It,
it's not about any understanding, believe me, when I was
yeah,
trying
it
to
doesn't. Yeah,
understand
yeah,
this,
yeah.
I was trying to like there must be a koan or a puzzle here, that what they're saying.
Yeah,
When it's being said that there's nothing is everything. Like what does it mean? Exactly as it is actually.
yeah,
Meaning it's impossible. Nothing is everything
yeah.
is impossible.
And it's impossible. And then there we have no power at all.
No.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for Mali. Good to see you here.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh, thank you, Laura. Steve, when hearing this message occurs, there's no information, only disintegration, especially if any questions that may be asked. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, go ahead if you want to add to that, Steve.
Hi, Emerson.
Hi, Steve.
Um, Yesterday, when I asked the question um, that was bothering me, as I heard the answer, I couldn't understand what you were saying. But I mean, it was like, but I started feeling really good. And there was like there was nothing I could hang on to. I really didn't understand it. And then I realized this morning that um, what it's all about, or I can't say what it's all about because that's fashioning a new explanation. It's the dissolution
Yeah, it
of
is.
whatever is coming up in terms of a story or an explanation,
Yes.
which then gets reintegrated, and that reintegration in the next moment then gets dissolved,
Hmm.
or it doesn't. But even if it doesn't, that it's there's nothing going from one quote unquote person to another. There's no information coming across. It's really that the whole thing is sort of finding itself in itself.
Yes. Yeah, beautifully said. Yeah, it's this is not information that's being expressed, right? So this is actually just um, it's an illumination of the disinformation. It's a clarity on the obstruction of beliefs, ideas, understandings. So when an understanding um, collides with this, it disintegrates because there's no understanding this, or even the possibility of knowing this. When it hits the impossible, it becomes also impossible, right? Because everything that is being expressed here is this unknowability, but it speaks in paradoxes, even in contradictory terms, right? So when it's contradicting, when it's kind of like canceling each other or negating each other, sometimes it collapses the understanding.
And it flies in the face of all the ways people are typically taught to come to terms with things. There's no coming to terms because there
No,
aren't any terms that
that's right. Yes,
apply. That's the impossibility.
that's the impossibility. Yeah, yeah. It's just it's so brilliant, this impossibility, right? That any kind of possibilities is incomplete because it's just an idea. Any kind of knowledge is almost an insult, right? To what's
Yes.
being discussed here, because this is not about knowing, or even kind of even a genius, or even kind of like wisdom or intelligence is obliterated because it's not needed. It's not needed. So when this is when the the tendency of the seeker is to try to figure out things, try to play it, try to win the lottery or something by trying to be engaged or disengaged or whatever it does, or thinking that it can understand this. But um when I talk to people that usually has a resonance with this or a glimpse or something, they'll say something like, I was listening to you and I was not listening to you. It was not
Yeah.
even the words anymore that was being said. It was just this
No.
apparent energetic, boundless energetic something. Um, or someone will say that the, the, the characters seem to have disappeared for an hour and I don't know what happened. It was just this, it's almost kind of like there's this seemingly kind of like intoxication with the illusion of me being here, right? there's this there's this mesmerization or a seduction of the illusion that keeps the seeker thinking that it exists and it's permanent, that it's the reality. So that intoxication or that seduction or that mirage does not appear permanently. It appears in spurts, right? It's kind of like that's why sometimes when listening to this communication, um, there is kind of like, what happened there? Or I'm relaxed now. Or there's no more trying. There's no one trying anymore. And then the negotiator, or the one that tries to the one that just thinks it's an omission for the mission impossible, comes back up, tries to make it into a story, then it becomes an understanding again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's
Thanks,
no goal.
Emerson.
There's no goal whatsoever.
No.
It's just what's happening, or nothing is
No.
happening.
That's great, Emerson. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, Steve. Can you talk about losing in sports and the depression? Yes. So in this play of separation, it starts very, very, and there's no time. This is just a story. It's kind of like the history of separation. It's kind of like, when there's a kid playing in a sandlot, or in a park, and it's just full of love. It wants to play with everybody, and it's playing, and it's just happy, and all of a sudden, it gets pushed, and basically the little child, another child, will say, "This is my spot. You stay in this spot." So there's this separation now. There's you and me now, And all of a sudden, the child, maybe meets other friends and other friends, and it becomes my team and your team. So the identification with mine, my team, my sports, my family, my friends, becomes this separation to something that is completely whole. So when there's a play at hand, like a game, sports, I know some of my friends who gets really depressed too when when their team loses, especially when there's a huge investment in winning. In the story, it brings back that separateness as a reality, that there are really other teams, that there are others, and it's taken really, really quite seriously, and it keeps on thinking about what it could have done because it thinks that it is responsible for the loss, secretly responsible for the loss, and it keeps on repeating over and over again what could have been done because it has ownership of that team. But there are no teams, there are no others, there's no sandlot, there's no arena, it's just wholeness. And it's easier to say that, but there's a felt sense of separation that repeats over and over again. The, 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 the illusion of time is quite intoxicating, that it thinks about it, it can replay the past over and over again. So that feeling of loss gets put on a loop of replay and it becomes depressive. It's holding on to something that could have, should have, could have won if only this player did this. But it's kind of like grieving. When there's a loss, there's a grieving. There seems to be a process, although there's no process until it's not. But in the eye of that depression or loss, it seems permanent. But everything is impermanent. And there's only permanence. So it's a non-event, so winning or losing doesn't matter. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. There's no events actually, and there's actually no winning or losing. Winning or losing is just really an idea. And let's take it further. Celebrating the win and feeling depressed for the loss is the same thing. There's just a preference. It's kind of like what's been on offer is the loss. And that's beautiful as well. The sadness of that one, the whatever seems to happen in that loss is rejected by the possibility of something better, the possibility of winning, celebrating, but it's the same thing. But when there's a character there that believes that it is real, then it takes that really, really completely seriously, and it matters to win or lose. And seemingly there's a collective mass illusion that they lost, so that that apparent independent, depression is mirrored by many others. It hears about news, all that kind of stuff. We should have won, and it's a big event, although it's a non-event when there's someone there. But there's nothing wrong or right about that. It's just what's happening. Petra asks, isn't life already happening without me anyway? Yeah, there's never been a you to for it to happen to. This is already happening without you because there's never been a you. There's this assumption that there's a me happening, and that obscures what is just happening, which is really nothing happening. Do you want to add to that, Petra? I like your flowers.
Yeah, nice flowers.
I thought it was like a painting. You were like, in a painting or something earlier, and then you started moving.
Oh,
There you go.
I'm behind. Yeah. It's not just that life's already happening without me. It's that it happens requires a me. No, of course it's not. It's the happening and not non-happening at the same time.
At the same time, yeah. So life is just flowing by itself.
That sounds
There's
bad.
yeah, it's just going. It just keeps on going. And if you really want to take it a bit further, simplify it. There's no life, and this is just what's happening.
Mm.
It's better because sometimes when it's said that life is happening, then life is thought of something separate
Right.
because there's always this identification of a character that's here, and it feels, but there's no life is just another word for just this. Some speakers like using life instead of whatever, and that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong or right about that. But this is just an unhappening happening simultaneously, happening to no one at the same time. Or you can just say that nothing is happening. Quite simple. It's really, really simple. And the complexity is the insertion of the possibility of I. The insertion of the possibility of I could do something better. Or the possibility of I wish I was not here. It's just all of this distortions of what is perfectly clear already, that this is just flowing. This is just energy flowing boundlessly by itself, with or without a cause, without a cause, with no reason, with no purpose, with no meaning. Just this as it is. It doesn't need a reason. It doesn't need any kind of complication. This is just as is, simply as it is.
Unavoidable, impossible.
I keep on coming up with new words. My favorite though is what's that again? Non-negotiable. I think that's my favorite one so far. This is not negotiable, and the negotiations could happen everything, but it's always sorry, non-negotiable. Sorry, non-negotiable. It's always this. And that non-negotiable is this impossibility of life appearing as it is. It's already stunning in its simplicity, in its clarity. Sounds appearing out of nowhere. Beautiful colors coming out from nothing, from no this solidity coming out from this boundlessness. Although all of these are just illusions, it's also very stunning that this is appearing out of nowhere and also disappearing at the same time. That nothing is permanent, but everything is permanent. Which is the same thing. Yeah. The impermanence and the permanent appearing simultaneously, spontaneously. With no authority. Freedom. At last. It's always freedom at last. Hi, Emerson. Is life and death the same? Yes. You can say that this is all life. You can say that this is all death. You can say that this is life and death happening at the same time. You can also say that life is impossible and death is impossible. It's just this wholeness that cannot really be put in words but can only be tried to deciphered in the understanding of what it is. So it cannot be understood. Life and death are simultaneously happening at the same time. Did you want to add something to that? Okay, thank you.
Hi, Emerson.
Oh, hello,
Hi,
the
hi. How are you
non-duality
doing?
police.
In the build. Yeah. Um, yeah, I was just thinking about something. I thought maybe I can share it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So, and it's just a story, it's very obvious, but I was thinking about the meaninglessness of life, um, and how when I was really identified as a person, I was very neurotically searching for a meaning, a higher purpose. And I also was like depressed for a long time because I was like, this can be everything, like going to school, this can be it. And so meaninglessness feels like this scary thing when you put it into a concept. But when all that stuff falls away, it's like it's not a scary or happy thing anymore. It's like there's no one to have meaning or to even to not have meaning. It's just it's beautiful. I don't know how things in a concept are so conceptualized and it's just free or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the it's not even meaningless. It's not even that. It's just that the duality of meaning or meaningful or meaningless is gone,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what
I know
I
you get
mean.
that. Yeah, it's just it
Yeah.
just doesn't have any kind of definition towards it anymore, right? So the closest that we can say is it doesn't have any meaning, but
Yeah.
that's even saying too much already, right? Because this is just this is just impossible. Right?
Impossible. Yes.
Impossible.
Yes.
It's almost both, but not both at the same time. And it's just so it's a tongue twister. It's kind of like I don't know what to say about this, but I understand what you're trying to say, right? That it's
Yeah, it's
just
just
the
nice talking.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
this almost like this burden of knowing and is gone, right? It's kind of like the burden of the neurosis of trying to try, of doing, of figuring
Yeah.
out. and
Yeah,
and
that's yeah.
and the that very persistent quality of the seeker is kind of like retired. You're like, oh wow, the persistence is gone.
Yeah, like
It's the character is retired. It's just sitting on a chair, kind of like relaxing, because it's all impossible anyway.
yeah, yeah, and that happened with the worst things that I could imagine, like meaninglessness. It just dissolves like the
Yeah,
meaning of the word. Yeah.
yeah, even the words, right? The
Yeah.
so there was an apparent period in these characters that every time it said a word, I'm like, oh shit, it can't seem to come out, right? Because there's just so much clarity. You're like, wow. So it was awkwardly trying to express something that's inexpressible. But what it's seen is that even any kind of expression is everything. It's okay
Yeah.
because
It
there's no
doesn't
one
matter
expressing
what
it.
you
Yeah,
say. I can right now I can tell stories
yeah,
about stuff, but it yeah, it's so all inclusive. Or yeah,
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
yeah,
The total radical acceptance of everything. It does not
yeah.
deny, reject. There's no rejection whatsoever,
It
right?
feels
It's
even weird, like agreeing on it. Like we're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's so weird. Yeah.
There's no more
So
conflicts,
no, and if there are, or conflicts can still play out.
but there's no
Um,
conflict with that conflict.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, ha, look, I'm in a conflict.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's no conflict at all.
yeah. That's so nice.
Yeah.
But even with stuff like with materialism, or I don't know, if you are a hippie, you have a lot of judgments against, for example, against judging.
Yeah.
So you're like judging people that are judging, but you're doing the same thing, right? And it's so funny how that feels like, oh, I'm so free and open-minded, but when that all falls away, it's like, ah, it was just a very uh weird dream, or I don't know what I'm
Yeah,
saying,
yeah,
but
it's kind of like that, right? It's just kind of like, what was that? Right?
yeah,
It's strange, right? The idea of duality becomes really strange all of a sudden. You're like, what the hell is that? Or the idea of
yeah,
others and and all ideas, well, every single idea just becomes strange. Like, what? Where does that come from? Right? Or
yeah,
how is that possible that I thought that, that I was here? How did that happen? And you're like, oh, it never happened. It's always this way. It because it's just like a dream that just popped out. You're dreaming of duality, dreaming of this, dreaming, and there's no duality and there's no you. You're like, okay, it's just nothing happened.
yeah,
Yeah, simple
yeah,
as that.
yeah. And the as a person, well, I used to have a lot of concepts of freedom, like, oh, this is freedom, that's freedom, but yeah, that just all dropped away. And I don't know, thinking about freedom is just a concept.
It
Like,
is, yeah,
freedom can
freedom.
be thought.
That's why that's why the words unconditional gets added to it, or um,
Yeah,
unwavering, all that kind of stuff to add, to add to that one. But those are just words again. Um,
yeah,
and it yeah, freedom becomes just the idea of freedom is so personalized that it's branded with the characters idea about what freedom is, right? And it varies in different stories, but what freedom is cannot be contained. It cannot be personalized. It cannot be owned, because that will not be freedom anymore. That will be freedom trademarked by wherever the character is, or it becomes this personalized idea of what it is.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's just nice when it is seen. It's
yeah,
nice. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
There's nothing to figure out anymore because it's free. Everything is free already. So trying to figure out something um, constricts it. It
yeah.
hides it, right? It's kind of like, oh,
But even that is freedom.
that's
Like,
also
doing
freedom.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it appears
yeah.
in everything. Yeah, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it.
No, not at all.
With, yeah, it's
Even
so
the
nice.
idea of personal freedom is also freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's nice talking. Thank
It's
you.
really nice talking to you there.
Thank you.
Oh, of
Same.
course. Thank you.
Hi, Emerson. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, hi, Mike.
How
How
are
are
you?
you? Oh, good.
Um, so I just have a question. Is using the word apparent a function of unknowing?
Um,
Like I've heard some speakers say that you can't understand what that, or not, I know I'm using the word understand, but you can't understand what that word means until there's no one there.
apparently, basically, it's happening and unhappening at the same time. So apparently, or unreal or real, occurring all
Okay.
at once. So apparently, yeah.
So
So
like,
meaning that
so
nothing,
yeah.
basically everything that is being said is an illusion. Everything that is being expressed is a concept or a story. So it's always going to be apparently. So there's no definite answer to anything because everything is apparent.
So if I so there's someone here. So if I was to use the word apparent, do am I really speaking accurately because I or do I not know what I'm saying?
No one knows what they're saying because there's no one.
Okay.
So feel
Okay.
free to choose. Feel
Okay.
free to choose. But but
Just throw
again, this
words,
is
whatever you want. Yeah. Okay.
but as I say,
Yeah.
always say, it's kind of like non-duality is a tricky one to talk to
Yeah.
publicly about, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
if you start speaking publicly and every sentence that you end up with, you're talking to parents. Are you coming to eat for dinner? Apparently, yes. Or what are you doing tonight? Apparently, if you do that, it's gonna sound strange, right?
But
So
you don't say you sorry, you don't say apparently because there's not an experience of it. Like you're
yeah,
it's just a response from the body saying, yeah, apparently.
yeah. Apparently,
Like,
it's
but
just
there's
basically an
okay.
expression this communication,
Yeah.
that it doesn't really have any location. It doesn't really have any truth to it. There's no truth or there's no certainty to it, right? Because there's no
Okay.
one here that there's no one here and there's no one there. Obviously, that is certain of anything.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank
apparently,
you. Yeah.
apparently.
Okay. All right. That's great. Thank you so much.
Okay. There's just obviousness, right? There's this obviousness of what's being spoken about that there's never been anyone here. So when there's the collapse of the character, although there's no character that collapse in the story, when the character is um is dead, although no one died because there's no one alive, um, there is this obviousness. There's this obviousness that there's never been anyone here. So that apparent character that thinks that there's time, there's certainty, there's truth, there's meaning, there's purpose, is not here. So what's just happening is just this speaking about this obviousness, apparently. So to speak. Emerson, do you always smile at these meetings? There's no one smiling here, so smiling is happening. Apparently, the character loves what it's doing. It's kind of like when it's DJing, it always smiles. But there's no one smiling here. It's just smiling happening for no apparent reason. Apparently. Start using that often now. Thanks, Mike. Thank you for doing this, Emerson. I really loved your talk about no concession. Can you talk about that again? I think you meant non-negotiable. Okay, yeah, yeah. All right. Um, yeah, I really like that too. So what's seemingly happening is always non-negotiable. It's always this perfection. It's always this um, absoluteness. So since this is non-negotiable, whatever is appearing is whatever is appearing. It cannot be negotiated. Somehow there's this illusory negotiator that tries to negotiate what is. So for example, if it's raining, the negotiator wants it to be sunny. If it's feeling anxiety, the negotiator wants to get rid of that anxiety. So since what is being expressed here is non-negotiable, so that anxiety is non-negotiable. It's just what's happening. Since there's negotiations happening, it prolongs the story of this anxiety because it wants something different. It turns it into a narrative. It owns it. The negotiator all of a sudden owns the non-negotiable of something that it can negotiate. It's personalized. And it becomes something that is either rejected or accepted. So everything that's being presented is as is. It cannot be negotiated. It cannot be bargained. It cannot be exchanged. It cannot be returned. Because it's always non-negotiable. So in this non-negotiability of everything, there is this Karen. Karen wants to see the manager. Karen, Karen wants to change things. Karen wants something different. Karen wants to return it. Karen complains. But there's no Karen. It's always non-negotiable. And the funny thing is, the negotiator is also it, trying to change it. So it can't change itself. It can only recognize itself. So it is always going to be infinite. So there's always going to be infinitely impossible, infinitely non-negotiable. And what obscures it is this thinking that it can be changed. So the non-negotiable is already stunning. It's the impossible happening. It's this clarity appearing. It's nothing being everything. or nothing is everything. And it's just beautiful. It's already stunning. So when there's a negotiation, it doesn't like what is being presented sometimes, and it wants a different. It wants to return it. It wants to exchange it. It wants to change the unchangeable. You can also say that everything that is presented is unchangeable. It's always unchangeable. And once it's seen that it's unchangeable and that the negotiator does not have any power to change things, that it's all kind of like what Petra and I talking about, is just flowing by itself. It can't stop the flow. It can't constrict the flow. It can't pause it. It can't exchange it. It's just flowing. So when the flowing is happening, and it's just seen as happening without anyone controlling it or causing it, then it's just a flow. It's just hanging out. It's just chill. And then it gets relaxed. Oh, thank you. That was, yeah, thank you. That was my favorite video of yours. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I like that word too. It's just a word again. It's just a word, right? And this character does like, words, changing words and everything, because they're all meaningless anyways. Might as well have fun with it. It's quite unbearable to hear over and over again that it's beautiful. Yes, apologies. Um, it's quite it's quite difficult when there is a sense of separation, that what is appearing is beautiful. I can also just say that it's just this. I don't have to use the word beautiful. It's just this ordinariness. It's just this simplicity. It's just words. So apologies for that. Let me change that word into this simplicity. Everything appearing as it is. The normalcy of everything. The ordinariness of this. The stark clarity of this, whatever it is appearing. It's just this. When there was seeking here, when there was this character was seeking, it got really frustrated over and over again with the word stunning. Every time that someone said stunning, I almost wanted to slam my computer. You know what I'm saying? Just like, I can't hear that word. You can also, it's all crap. Yeah, this is all bullshit. Thank you. Bullshit, bullshitting by itself. Yeah, the word stunning, or the other one that I hated was, all that there is this. I'm like, I can't hear that anymore. Or nothing, nothing is everything. Or not, no. The number one though is nothing happening. That was the number one. That was the number one statement that every time I almost went into hives. I was kind of like, I don't want to hear that anymore, because it wants to hear something, something that coddles it, or that makes it feel better. Anita.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Anita.
Hi. I liked your work, stunning.
You like it?
Yes, I love it. Yes.
It's a love and hate relationship with this communication when there was seeking here, right? Sometimes it was like, ah, but there were days that I can't hear it. And every time that it was uttered, I was kind of like, no, no more, no more. I would just get paced back and forth. And then I would convince myself that maybe I had to embrace that word.
Oh yeah, everything has to embrace.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe, yeah, because this character comes from spiritual practice, right? So it
Yeah,
basically
me
like
too.
could convince itself that what maybe is being rejected is what should be accepted. I'm like, oh, okay, but that's also bullshit because what's happening is just what's happening. So
Yeah,
if there is a rejection or if there's an acceptance, that's what is because
yeah,
the rejection is also it. The acceptance is also it. The subject and object are also both it. So
yes,
it's what is, right? So
yes.
whatever is the rejection or the oh, I was appalled. You know what I'm saying? Every time that someone would have this really kind of like beautiful kind of like long question, and then one of the speaker will be saying, "Well, nothing is happening." I'm like, I can't hear that anymore.
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to hear that. Yeah. I hate the word consciousness.
Oh,
Some speakers are using that a lot, so I don't want to listen to them. So then I'm thinking that's a teacher.
oh yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. When there is here, since I have interviewed so many spiritual non-duality teachers, speakers and that kind of stuff, there's a noticing here that there when it mentions pure consciousness or consciousness, it's pertaining to a source, right? This is sourceless. And it's a belief. It's a belief, right? So nothing wrong or right about that. It's just what's happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Anita.
Yeah, I want to share
Yeah,
something
go
more.
go ahead, Anita. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's I'm a little bit struggling. And I know in a way there is no relationship, um, and there is no family. They don't exist. Um, but I after the holiday with Andreas in La France, I haven't had contact with my mother,
Okay.
and she's phoning me, and I don't answering the phone,
Mhm.
and I don't know what to say,
Yeah.
and
Well,
that's what's happening.
yeah. That's just what's happening. See, kind of like what I was talking about earlier. It's just what's happening. So there's no choice in not answering or answering the call. It's just what's happening. The moment the narrator or the narrative comes, then it becomes a problem.
But it makes me also sad in a way. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, of course, yeah. But there's no one choosing to do that. No one choosing to respond or not to respond.
Mhm.
It's just what's happening.
Yeah.
It's just flowing by itself, right? So if sadness happens, it's just what's happening. Nothing is happening as well.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just seemingly there's this um there is this attachment to the story of whatever is, right? So it repeats it over and over again. It's
Yeah.
a sense it's that sense of separation. It's the sense of it's a sense that this is real, that this is something that is that I have any choice or I have power over this. There's the I should have answered it, maybe I should not. So it goes back and forth to what's just happening.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it creates this story of something that is just happening. And there's nothing wrong or right about that. It's just what is. Because there's no one choosing to do that at all.
Yeah.
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 Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anita. Come back if you want to talk about that more. Hey, Sheer. Hello, Sheer.
Hi. Hi, hello. I just, I really nothing. I mean, knowing or not knowing is the same fucking knowing.
Yes, yeah. They're the same.
Yes,
Because there's no nowhere.
yes, because it's same, you know. It's it feels that it feels no one is, but yet it's that not knowing itself is knowing.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, thank you, Sheer. Thank you. Thank you, Emerson, for this meeting. It was very unbearable to hear unconditional love um, from any speaker, but the way that you expressed it in one of your previous videos about unconditional love um, makes it more bearable. Why is that? I really don't know. There was this, for quite a while there was this resistance in this character to speak about unconditional because it's ultimately cannot really be fully expressed. It's something that is just impossible to express because it's something that cannot be experienced, this unconditionality. But apparently, when there was this apparent seeing, um, and there was this sharing of unconditional love, and it seems okay now. What's basically what is being expressed is that there seems to be whatever is appearing is unconditional love, and whatever is appearing is always accepted, whatever it is. And just a short version of what I said of that. It's whatever is appearing, whatever is arising is unconditional love. Anything and everything. Thank you. Thank you so much. Can you talk about memory? Yes, I love talking about memory, but I can't remember what it's about. What is memory? There is no memory as well. It's just this occurrence, this apparent temporal occurrence that seemingly appears in the all at onceness of everything. For example, if someone is to talk about something in the illusory past, an apparent thought about it, some people will call it memory, happens simultaneously about the past, and some will call it memory, but it's just this simultaneous, this instant appearance of something that never really existed. So there's this illusion that's supported by another illusion called memory, but they're all of the same thing. It's this impermanence in the impermanent appearing as memory or whatever it is. That's also it's just really nothing at all. I can't even remember what memory is. I forgot. Emerson, is that a real coffee mug? Yeah, it is. It's a memory. Oh, can you talk about leaving a legacy? Oh, yes, yes. So when I was a spiritual teacher, um, when I was really fucking it up, for lack of a better word, someone said, "What about your legacy?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." So there's this idea that you're building something, creating something to support the importance of that apparent character, so that it leaves something behind, either it be a teaching or kindness or whatever, or whatever it is. But since there's no time and there's no one here, all legacies are all an illusion. Legacy is just not, it's not real at all. It's just another idea. What is legacy? So there was this when there was a spiritual teacher seeker slash seeker here, that believed that it was a person. It really took care of its legacy, but when all of a sudden it started crumbling, when it started seeing that, um, well, it really encountered this communication, and all of a sudden any idea about attainment, or any idea about history or future, started getting challenged, right? So when you encounter a speaker like Tony or Jim that keeps on saying nothing is happening, the frustration appears because there's this frustration that it resonates with it, that there's no time, that there's no past, there's no history, that there's no memory. But it doesn't like it as well, because it's really ultimately pointing it out that there's no one that has a past or a future or a memory. And it keeps on resonating with it, but it doesn't want to see its own absence. So it's looking for its own absence, but it's petrified to see that it's not here. So when I was encountering this communication, I thought that I had this big legacy of helping others, thinking that this character helped thousands of people, and thinking that this character had a big, big wallet, like a big kind of like Bitcoin wallet. But what keeps on seeing is that it was empty, that there was nothing there. So it felt kind of cheated because there's no legacy. And also at the same time, there's no bad legacy, there's no good legacy. It's just all bullshit. Question here. Many things seem so clear and obvious, like there's no time and other things. Yet the illusion of separate person suffering and searching for what continues. Yes, because there's this so even if there's clear and obvious that there's no time and there's no other things, the persistent illusion that I am here moving through time and space is impossible to dislodge. It's impossible. It's impossible. So what is the relief of that one as well? So since it's impossible, it's just what is, meaning that there's no one in control. It's just an appearance. No one is in charge. So the suffering seems to come with thinking that it is in search, it's in charge of finding. It's in control of seeking. It has a choice. It has options. It can do something. It doesn't want to give up the control. It wants to control things pertaining to the separateness of this individual. But when it's seen that it's just a felt sense of reality, the illusion feels completely real. But there's also this, since it's an illusion, although it feels completely real, it's powerless. So the idea that it has power to either drop away or get this or attain this is what causes this friction, suffering, thinking that it can do something, or it's not doing something, or it's not getting it. So it seems to be this frustration because it think it has control. Yeah. Did you want to add something to that? Okay. All right. Hi, Petra.
It seems that the negotiator is the bad guy. That seemingly, but I think it's the same topic. It's the same topic, and as there is a trying to detach from it, just to see him negotiate. It's going in circle.
Yeah, there's no bad or good anyway, but there seems to be this idea that it's bad at negotiating. But when it's seen that it's just what's happening, that's just what's going to happen, it will keep on rejecting what is by thinking that there's something else better than this. Then it's just seen as a function. It's just seen as kind of like a blinking of the eye or a yawn. That's what it does. And there's no controlling what it does because it's not even there. It's just what's happening. The negotiator will keep on negotiating until it just gets tired of negotiating, right? It just keeps on coming back. Well, how about this? And the non-negotiable.
Yeah. With the circle of desire also.
It's the same thing. Same thing. Or the Sisyphus, right? The one that keeps on, bringing a rock, and it's the same thing over and over again. It creates this illusory suffering when it's just a hamster wheel. Just keeps on running and running and running. That's what it does, right? It just keeps on seeking and seeking, and it's just what is. But it's not a bad person, or that's not a bad thing. It's also emptiness appearing as a negotiator, negotiating something that it already is. He keeps on negotiating. I want the absence of this negotiator. And emptiness is, well, it's already empty. There's nothing to negotiate. It's already empty. Everything that's appearing is already emptiness. So we cannot negotiate something that it's already is. It's non-negotiable. Because everything that it comes up is is already it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Non-duality police, how are you? Do you want to add something? How bizarre how this nowhere-ness appears as locality. Yes.
Hey.
It's impossible, right? That this is nowhere, but somehow it appears as this location. But the location is just this idea again, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong or right about that. It just appears as this mirage, as this persistent illusion that you are here, but really you're nowhere because there's no you to be here or there or nowhere. It's just nowhere.
Yeah.
Everything is nowhere.
It's just so unthinkable, and
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. I don't know. It's really cool.
I don't know too.
Yeah.
It's really trippy traveling sometimes, on a plane when there's nowhere. because no one's really going anywhere. It's always this. You're like, oh, yeah. No location.
Hi, Emerson.
Hello, hello,
I think
Pramali.
I think the non-duality police,
Yes.
the lady, should talk about it.
Oh, I
I
think
think
so
she's very,
too.
very clear. Yeah, so
Yeah. Do you have a
I think
YouTube
she
channel,
should.
Non-Duality Police?
Yeah, but I only have a few music videos
Oh, beautiful.
but I'm in oscillation. I'm not clear, you know? Or I don't know, I can't even label it, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'm also really tired, so I would like to talk about it, but talking seems to get me in trouble, like physically.
No.
But I'm the non-duality police on YouTube, so it's a stupid name, I know. But to the lady that said that, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, there's clarity there, right? We'll chat more.
Yeah.
We'll chat more. Just
Yeah,
message
yeah.
me. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All right. All right. Yeah, this is funny when there was also reluctance here in speaking, and oh, Victoria was there. The first time that it actually spoke in a Zoom is because Neil Denham could not make it. Remember that, Victoria? Denham was feeling not well, so I'm like, I could not cancel it because he told me like it was very last minute, so I ended up like so I think there was like 30, 40 people, and then half of them left right away when I started speaking. They're like, well, we wanted, we didn't want you. Um, and there was just this loving in communicating this. There's just ever since, um, because Victoria was there and she supported me. Apparently. Oh, I can't hear you, Victoria.
I wasn't there so long, because William came in the first 5 minutes, so I just left the meeting. I was fed up, apparently, the private show,
Yeah. You just came for the intro and then left. Yes. Oh, you're welcome. Non-duality police. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Emerson. So when there's someone there, will there always be the illusion of effort?
There's always no one here. There's also no one there.
Okay.
So the effort illusion is just an illusion as real as the illusory character called Mike. It's not real at all.
So if that character fell away, there wouldn't even be anyone there to know if there was effort or not.
It's just what's happening, yeah. effort seems to appear or not, but there's no one that is making an effort. It's just appearing because there's no choice. There's no one doing anything, right? So who's making the effort?
Does effort appear there?
No. There's no one here. So whatever appears is just, I don't even have any much labels, in what's happening when there's this immediacy of this kind of like that is just always this. There, so whatever appears is just what's appearing. And it also, there's a seeing that there's no history. So when you say that is there an effort, I don't even think about that anymore because there's no one thinking here. It's just what's happening. It's kind of like there. There's also no mic there, but there's this idea that it's running through time. It's going through time and space. That it has a history. That it has to make an effort or efforts being made. But since there's no time, this is just all an appearance of timelessness appearing as this segmented moment. But there's nothing happening. Not to say that so when there is this no more neurosis of the character being kind of like in control. When it's kind of like I do this analogy when like all your life you think that you're driving the car, you're kind of like a bad or a good driver, or you have to improve. When it's seen, it's just like a Tesla that's driving by itself. No one has ever driven it. You've never driven this at all. So who's making the effort? So the character is free of should have, could have. For example, if the character is a very how do you say it? Go-getter, it will be a go-getter. Does that make any sense? It will just keep on doing what it's doing without any kind of obstacle. So for example, if a character is a workaholic, it's going to be a workaholic still, but there's no more neurosis there. Or it could drop away as well. It could be like, what's the point of working? What's the point of effort when there's no one here? So it's retired, right? So the neurosis is retired. Or, for example, this character always tried to dim down, right? Tried to speak slower, speak like a spiritual teacher, and tried to control it, or tried to wear beige and white. So since there's no one faking it anymore, it's just the authenticity of this character coming through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Keep on coming back with questions. They're great. Hi, Emerson. Thank you for these brilliant talks. They are always fresh and new. Thank you. Thank you. Apparently. Thank you. It's really just my wall that's always different. I renovate, when I do my talks, I renovate, make sure that I put on the brick walls.
I just wanted to ask from you, Emerson, sometimes you have a blue dye, the painting, the blue, and after this kind of, I don't know. So every week you renovate something in this flat, or this is not the same room?
You mean this one?
Yeah. Okay, forget this.
Okay, there you go. It's it's exposing the illusion. It's just really good lighting. That's what it is. That's why it looks real.
I was thinking you have a lot of time to do.
Sorry for destroying the illusion.
No time, so who knows, what's happening there?
Someone said, "Aw, I was really loving the illusion that you were in different rooms all the time." Sorry. Kane asked, dreaming and this is the same? Yeah, this is dreaming, but there's no dreamer. So no one went to bed. No one woke up. This is the dream. The dream that there's separation, the dream that there's subject-object, the dream that there is time, the dream that there's you and I. But since this is a dream, this is nothing happening. Nothing's happening. Nothing appearing as everything. And it's always dreaming infinitely. So since there's no one gets out of the dream. It's just dreaming by itself with no one in it. So there are no problems. Because it's just a dream. Oh, thank you for reminding me. Thank you so much, everyone. This has been such a blast. We'll be back in 2 hours for another 90-minute session. Thank you from no one.
Thank you.
There's a breakout
Thanks,
room.
Emerson.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Emerson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.